Okay, Loudepot back again with the final thought on short cycling, which also wastes a lot of fuel. Number one, why boilers turn on and off and on and off, or hot air furnaces also, is one is the location of the thermostat. Thermostat location is critical because if it's near a door or a window that's always being open and closed, especially in the winter, it's going to feel that cold air hitting it and thinking the whole house is cold. And it's going to be turning on and off and on and off. So it's critical that the thermostat is in a hallway by itself away from all windows and doors and not on an outside wall. If you think it's your thermostat, you can take some kind of a cup or a box that covers it and duct tape it to the wall so it's covered and work the house in and out that way for a little bit, a few hours, and see if the boiler still short cycles with the thermostat covered. And that'll help you. That'll give you an insight. You may have to move the thermostat. Number two is a cracked heat exchanger. That'll cause the hot, this is more in hot air furnaces, and that's dangerous. That's real dangerous because that cracked heat exchanger, where the flame is in a hot air furnace, the warm air that circulates through your rooms passes through that heat exchanger, it hits it, the fumes don't mix because where there's a flame, there's carbon monoxide that goes out the chimney. But the warm air circulates around it and gets warm and goes through the ductwork. When that heat exchanger has a crack in it, the fumes and the heat get into that ductwork air that circulates where you breathe, and you can wind up getting carbon monoxide poisoning. But moreover, that cracked heat exchanger actually lets the very, very hot heat out where the flame is, and there's a limit switch in the hot air furnace which will cause it to turn off and turn on. It'll turn off and on when it cools and heats because that heat's going in there and making the furnace extra hot. Besides the thermostat turning off a hot air furnace, just that flame inside the furnace, there's a limit switch that'll shut itself down for safety reasons so it doesn't ruin the equipment. Whether the thermostat's on or off, if it gets too hot, it'll shut itself down. And that also happens from a clogged filter not being able to circulate the air around fast enough to cool the furnace down a little bit. It needs that air to circulate and cool it down so it can remain heating. If it doesn't have that air movement, it'll also shut down. Just like an air conditioning system, if it doesn't have that cool air going through the air handle where that little radiator is, if that air conditioning filter clogs, that air handle will ice up because the warm air going through it keeps it from icing up. It'll get condensation on it. Without warm air passing through there, it'll freeze and turn into a block of ice. And even though the thermostat's still calling for air conditioning, you won't get any because it iced up. So those filters need to be cleaned. The filters are more of a problem than anything. They always need to be cleaned and air passing through them. And last but not least, if you have an oil-fired hot water heater, oil-fired hot water boiler, and that's short cycling on, off, on, off, on, off, you can add a hydraulic separator. A plumber needs to do that. You can buy that at a plumbing supply like Blackman or something. But a hydraulic separator adds more mass to a boiler and keeps it from firing on, off, on, off. It keeps it from short cycling. So that's important. Some plumbers will use a small tank and use it as just a buffer. They call it a buffer tank. But that's basically what a hydraulic separator is. It's a small gadget, and that works. That'll keep it from short cycling. So a hydraulic separator or a buffer tank added onto an oil-fired hot water boiler, and that'll keep you from short cycling also, and that'll save a lot of fuel. Good luck with this. I hope this helps.